from a desert base. Truth don't hide, it just waits for a face, for a face. Big footprints in a pine-slick path. Bob Lazar files with a government laugh. Court dates lost in a sea of red tape. We ain't 10-4, we just stay awake. True crime tales in a borrowed voice. We speak for the silence, not by choice. Got boots on the dirt and eyes on the skies, digging up stories they hoped would die. Might, truth, and thunder, we don't back down. With a Bible in the glove box and boots on the ground. Aliens, lies, and backroom deals. We break that silence, 'cause the soul feels real. Military broadcast, midnight run, teaching vets how to speak what the war's done. From trigger pulls to microphone stands, from combat zones to healing hands. Public records, missing names, unsealed files, classified games. We chase what's buried, not what trends, and we pray for light at the truth's deep end. Might, truth, and thunder, we don't back down. With a Bible in the glove box and boots on the ground. Aliens, lies, and backroom deals. We break that silence, 'cause the soul feels real. Some chase fame, we chase the facts. Some fold quick, we read the tracks. It ain't paranoia if it's always been there, and we ain't scared to lay it bare. Into the storm. We ain't perfect, but we were made for this form.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm Amber.
And I'm Alora.
And we want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know this is not about Gypsy Rose, so I really appreciate any of you guys who are sticking around to watch our other stuff, because I think we got some good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but in the meantime, while we wait for our guest, Alora, how has your opinion changed on everything since we have read so much?
I don't think that my opinion has so much changed. I just think it's very interesting to see that Gypsy hasn't changed at all. At least it seems. She did a little bit of a response clap back to say that she was unbothered, but I don't think you get back on TikTok if you're completely unbothered. And this isn't to piss off Gypsy.
No.
This isn't to expose her or anybody else necessarily. It's just to kind of seek what the truth is. And it seems like we're getting kind of a clear picture of that. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I really hadn't invested any time in actually like really thinking about all of the manipulation and everything. Like I've seen it and I've thought about it, but really thinking about it. Wow. I'm a little shocked, actually.
I am a little shocked by our last email, and you know, we're not going to really talk about that, but what I will say is we decided that after that we were just going to put out all of the messages and you guys can read them and form your own opinions for yourself. We're not accusing anybody of anything, but we felt like it would be wrong for us to just completely leave something out while reading all of, you know, and airing out all of Gypsy's dirty laundry. So,
yeah, it's more about history and stuff like that for me. And I just kind of fell into the rabbit hole, unfortunately.
We kind of just landed here, but
we're sharing all the information that we're getting, and I hope that it is useful for other people to spread the message far and wide. And so, yeah, hopefully people really look into those documents and dissect them in a way that is helpful.
Yeah.
Not to tear Gypsy down, but to actually help us kind of understand the mind of, honestly, a murderer. So,
I mean, you're not wrong.
You know, I mean, criminal profilers and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that'd be probably a good use of the emails. So hopefully some people that have some experience can go through them.
Yeah, I'm learning more as the day goes by. People are sending me messages and stuff that they found, and I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
dang.
Well, we just got a couple sent to us from Millennial, and
Yeah.
I was kind of like, whoa.
I haven't even looked at them today, really, except for what Millennial has sent me or what other people have sent me, because honestly, I was just like, oh, I need some time, and my back has been killing me. So hopefully we don't have to get into them today.
Yeah, we might, though. We might look into a couple of them if we're not able to work something else out.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about Shauna Lore Sanders.
Yeah, Chanda Lore
Chanda,
Sanders.
I'm so sorry. Chanda.
No, you're fine. So this is a missing woman. She has been missing since July 13th, 2022. And she is a member of the Cheyenne Arapaho tribe. And there was a possible sighting of her in Oklahoma City in 2024 at the Smokapalooza, but we're really not sure if that was an official sighting or not. Mm-hmm. Her family seems to think so, but officially she hasn't been seen since June 29th, 2022 from Brownsville. And I have actually spoken to the detective in Brownsville. They don't have anything about her being a missing person, or they didn't. Like maybe it's been about 2 weeks ago now that I talked to the detective. I can't remember, actually.
So you're telling me somebody hasn't been seen officially since 2022 and they haven't even classified her as a missing person?
Yeah, and even here on this flyer, it talks about how, according to Brownsville police and according to the family, that Chanda listed herself as homeless. Mm-hmm. So she's not officially missing. But then when the family talked to them...
So you're telling me a homeless person can't be missing?
Yeah, and then when I talked to the detective, he didn't bring that up at all. So, and I forgot to, because I was kind of caught off guard when he called me. Mm-hmm. I was expecting somebody to call me sometime, but when he called me that time, I was just not really expecting it. So, yeah. So I don't know what's happening in Chanda's case, but we want to share it out and just let people know what's going on. And hopefully, somebody will find her and
bring some closure no matter what.
Yeah. And so I've run this by her family because it is a strong possibility. But since she was down in Texas near the border, because she actually went over the border at one time, wow. And she had past affiliations with the Latin Kings and has Latin King tattoos, she could have been possibly swept up in one of the raids. We have no idea at the moment. That's just a possibility, something that we were just talking about. Yeah. We have no idea for sure, but hopefully we find out more answers. And if Chanda just wants to be left alone, please just tell your family to leave you alone. Yeah, definitely. Or call the police. Yeah, call the police or your tribe. Let them know. No one's mad at you. We just want to know that you're safe and that everything's okay. Absolutely. So, and then we're going to move over to Shannon LaFleur, and she has been missing since January the 18th of 2025. She was last seen on 6th Street and South Park View Street in Los Angeles, California. And she is a member of the Choctaw Nation. And Amy from Parawoman and I have been working with her family we've also been working with Chanda's family as well. Amy has been as well. And so we're trying to get Shannon's face out there, her story out there. Her aunts are really worried about her. Her cousin is really worried about her. And so please just share out her information. Unfortunately, she's got, being Native stacked against her, being on drugs stacked against her, and then possibly homelessness, so class, so it's
a lot of times people just go ignored. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done, your life is just as valuable as a CEO, you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous the amount of effort that they put into rich, white, pretty, all that stuff, missing girls and boys and stuff, and they just completely ignore Indigenous women, it seems. It's a whole epidemic. There's a song
really
that we've played in the past on this channel or whatever, and it kinda goes over all of the missing Indigenous women.
Yeah, and actually we might take a break and show that here in a little bit. But yeah, I would really appreciate it if you would please share Shannon's story out there and just let everybody know that she's missing. And she went missing with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's name is Nate. I don't remember his last name, but from everything I understand, he just won't answer any questions about Shannon.
Oh, so we know where Nate is, but we don't know where Shannon is.
So people have been in contact with him at certain points.
Okay.
But every time somebody finds him, he won't answer any questions.
That sounds a little odd.
And then there was a weird message that Amy from Parawomen found on Twitter talking about her death maybe in a basement.
Oh.
And so if people go back and look at that episode that we did, yeah, it's a little interesting because the family said that the home looked kind of familiar. So I don't know. We're just trying to understand what happened to Shannon and what happened to Chanda. So please share.
Absolutely.
And then we also have Desiree Smith. She's 15 years old, and was last seen in Columbia, Missouri on 12/7/24. And from everything I understand, she just went missing. I don't even really know a whole lot about her case. There's not a whole lot of information, no updates really.
I remember hearing about her because it's pretty close to home for us. And yeah, I don't really know a lot of information about her either, but it's very important that we can at least get her picture out here so that if you see her, you don't know if there's any other places that they think she might have fled to, if she has a boyfriend.
Yeah, we have no idea.
Anyone online.
Yeah, we have no idea.
No idea.
So let's see.
It's crazy how people can just up and go missing.
Yeah, and welcome in everybody. Justin Shades, Kathleen, Smooth Operator, Too Much Mom. Let's see, Joy, Miss Anonymous, Stacy C, Bobby J. I said Kathleen, Lala One, Wendy Kent Creates, Lily, and looks like that's all I see right at the moment. So welcome in everybody. Oh, Rose Red, nice to see you. Yeah, so that's what we're just trying to bring awareness to people who have gone missing. And this is another one. This is actually somebody that I knew in elementary school. I actually went to her house and played with her, when I was like in the 3rd or 4th grade, maybe. And her name is Michelle Crawford. And then I lost touch with her because her family moved out of the neighborhood. And then, but I did meet her again in high school. We had a couple of classes together and we spoke, a little bit, but we didn't really know each other. So, that is just what it is. But I did know Michelle to some degree, and she went missing in Lawton, Oklahoma, June 8th, 1999, after telling her family she was going to the movies. Her locked car was found on June 13th with her belongings inside, and she was a responsible university student and an employee. Foul play is expected, and her case remains unsolved. I actually have tried to get FOIAs on Michelle's case, but a lot of it has supposedly been damaged in a flood.
Whoa.
So pretty much the only stuff that I have officially gotten from Lawton is basically a timeline of updates.
Well, I'm very glad that everything's kind of moving to the digital age so that it's going to be increasingly harder and harder for things like that to happen.
Yeah, so am I.
That being said, it's quite tragic that's the case.
Yeah, so if you have any information on Michelle, she was an extremely responsible person, so something definitely happened to her to have made her walk away from everything. So please share her information as well. And then I also want to bring attention, I have done a video on Tina Athena Marie Hogan. She passed away October 1st, 1986. I did not personally know Tina, but I knew the man who found her. I mean, as much as you can as a 7-year-old,
You guys were vaguely acquainted.
Yeah, his brother was my cousin's boyfriend. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Go watch that video.
Yeah. And we have a video on this channel, and then Unsolved No More with Ken Maines also did a video. He was kind enough to take my mom's request on this. This is something that she's always talked about Athena my whole life. And so this picture actually is the only picture that exists of her that we can find. We actually had to drive down to Lawton, Oklahoma ourselves, and we had to go through a bunch of like old tapes, a bunch of old records and stuff like that. Microfilm, is that what it was? We had to go through a bunch of microfilm and look through hundreds of different types of newspapers and stuff. And actually, you doing that is in our little intro. So yeah,
that's how I found that. And then we just want to bring awareness to Classic and Sincere. You may also know them as Orrin and Orson. And their parents have been, or their adopted parents have been convicted of their murder, but they have never been found. And that was in Bakersfield, California. So please just look their information up and share their information. And then we also want to bring attention to Jelani Day and Teron Evans Jr. We have videos with Teron's mother and Jelani's mother. So please go check those out. And now we have our guest here. So we are going to remove this. And we're going to bring our guest of the weekend.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Hello, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy. Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for offering to have me on your show. I could not be more excited.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for coming on. We're excited to talk to you.
When I saw you on TikTok, I was like, oh, she seems extremely interesting.
So new to TikTok. I had resisted for a very long time. And everybody around me is like, you would be perfect. Do it. And with Poison Control, season 2 of the Toll podcast, our podcast, there was just so much to tell. And I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the app and I'm going to dive in. And I have found such a wonderful community there. And I've heard people talk about that before, but the support from people who are interested in these cases, it's just been amazing. And I feel I can be myself. Yeah. I'm eccentric and, crazy with my hands and fun. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a place I really enjoy. And I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Can you tell everybody who you are? I mean, because I didn't give you a very good introduction. Sorry.
No. So my background is radio. Heard, not seen. So being seen to something like this platform is completely different to me.
Yeah.
26 years. When I was 10 years old, I was determined to be on the radio. It was my whole goal. It's what I wanted to do. And I ended up in broadcasting school, and I got my very first job in radio, and I didn't leave until they pushed me out 26 years later. Same station, 26 years. And then they decided last year they were going to go in a different direction. So I had to reevaluate. I work at a TV station now, but it was a wild ride. For 20 of those, I was in the newsroom. I ended up being the assistant news director. So I anchored news, I did breaking news, I did investigative journalism, and I chased tornadoes. I was a storm chaser for 20 years.
Cool.
So I have so many stories in my back pocket to tell, investigations that I've done, and just my experience here in the Ozarks. That's where I'm based, in the Ozarks in Missouri. And then for the last 6 years, I moved a whole 9 steps to my new job and took over the morning show. And we had the #1 rated morning show in the Ozarks. And I got, my partner and I got nominated for a CMA. So got to go to Nashville and do the whole country music scene. And I loved every second of it. And I cherish all the memories I have. But along with that, I have a ton of stories. So it's been fun.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. When I saw that you were based out of Springfield, I was like, oh, she's got some stories.
Mhm.
The Ozarks. I mean, so much happens here, Gypsy Rose.
I feel like you would probably win a lot of games of 2 truths and a lie, though.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, since you did mention Gypsy, you were at the original press conference that happened with Sheriff Arnott.
Yeah.
Sure. So I was in that case from the second she went missing through Nicholas Godejohn's trial. So 26 years, that was a big moment for all of us, because we knew her in the community as somebody who was sick and needed her mom's help, and her mom would, be active in all the groups, and they just did everything here. You just knew them. I did not know her personally. I did not know her well. I had an interaction with her before a concert at the station, but we just knew of her. So when this all happened, I was just like, say what? She's in Wisconsin. She can walk? Say what? And then I tell the story on TikTok that we got the booking photo, and it didn't have the sex in there. It didn't say male or female. I'm like, she's a girl, right? So we call Wisconsin, and we're talking to the jailer, and like, is she a girl? Because the booking photo is nothing like, we had, everything's so weird, and all the stories are coming, and what? So he's like, yeah, she's definitely a girl. I go, okay. But then you put the 2 pictures side by side with her and Nick, and they kind of look alike with the shaped heads. And we were just completely confused.
I didn't even think about that when before I saw your video. And then I was like, oh, yeah, they do.
They look kind of related. I wonder if it was planned or on accident.
Right.
Who knows?
So for me to watch all of this come out and unfold, and all these FOIAs being done, I know that you've been a big push on those emails, and congratulations, good for you.
Thank you.
But to sit here and be part of the initial push and her plea deal and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, poor kid, that was tough. That was really tough. And how dare you say anything bad about her? Before all this, because people would just really come to her defense. But with all of the stuff that's been uncovered, really, and not a lot of people are on TikTok that I'm around, and I'm like, have you heard the Gypsy stuff? No, what are you talking about? Wow, it's mind blowing for all of us.
I bet it is. So when I heard that you were part of that whole interaction and everything, I mean, from seeing her outside of the radio station to actually watching the press conference, my one thought was, how did Gypsy actually act before the crime? Did she actually act like she had a mental deficit?
So I'm getting ready to release a bonus episode for season 2 of the Toll Poison Control, because it's about a poison case. And so it kind of had that Munchausen by proxy feel. So I'm doing a bonus episode, and my friend Emily Wilson, who's doing it with me, had interaction with Gypsy. And so I asked her about that. That piece is actually being mastered, so it'll be out soon. But, it's just, she says that when she was around her, she just felt that this girl was older than she appeared, that something was off, but she is sick and she is in the wheelchair and her mom is babying her, so when you have quick interactions like that, it's hard to judge, right? You can feel something's off, but then you walk away and go on, but there were rumors pretty quick after her arrest that she would get out at night and walk around and meet people in the neighborhood. And, there were a lot of people who knew she could walk. And those stories came out pretty quick. But even so, we were like, say what? Because everything got swept under the rug and the plea deal came out and that was that. It was a nice bow, nice package. And then, she goes on shows like Dr. Phil and the Hulu and the HBO. And you think they dig. And, they don't have to, that's sensationalized television too. So yeah, it's really wild to watch this unfold.
Yeah. The story that was painted is it's quite a show. So, I can understand why people would latch onto that. And it's like, you never want to question somebody's abuse. I still even feel bad about that. I still feel like there had to be elements of it because just the whole thing was not normal. You can't just treat your kid like that and, allow that and be normal. But at the same time, it's like the evidence is just showing something totally different.
And Dee Dee was completely a grifter. They were both getting stuff out of it. And I always said that, like Gypsy, that's all she knows is manipulation. No matter what happens in her life, it's going to end in tears because that's all she knows. And it was just, they got everything they wanted to be able to go on trips and get the house and all the Disney stuff. And it was just a big grifting situation. So it was so codependent. Wow.
Yeah. And she was very open in her emails that she's codependent.
Yeah. Which you can tell. You can definitely tell.
Yeah. Now, what do the first responders and the people who actually worked on the case, have you heard any rumors or not rumors, but any stories about how any of them felt?
No. Or feel now that this is coming out. But they had to know, right? Because you watch the interrogation, you watch her in the room and the interaction with the officer or the jailer, whoever that is, her talking about being at Disney and eating all the sugar and running up and down the streets.
Even walking around.
So they had to be talking amongst themselves that this girl is a master manipulator and something is off. So I would say to them, a lot of this isn't
surprising.
No, not surprising at all. Yeah.
Sheriff
Arnott, I believe he knew, there were probably things that he couldn't talk about.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like the sweetheart deal was just kind of like a whole PR thing. Cause prosecuting and putting her in jail for life, her being the sweetheart that she was, I'm sure that would have been really controversial and it would have been a really hard pill for the community to swallow.
But the narrative that was built around it is wow, with all of the stuff coming out. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the other stories from Springfield is the Springfield 3.
Oh, yeah.
Now you've actually talked to somebody who confessed to being the murderer.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. And for people who don't know, the Springfield 3, there's 3 women who went missing, a mother and her daughter, and then her daughter's friend. And I think I can't remember their names at the moment. What were their names?
Cheryl and Susie Streeter and Stacy McCall.
Yes. Yeah. And I have actually driven past that house as well. And that's an odd neighborhood. It comes straight off of a major road. And the last time I drove past it, it was like a rehab facility or something like that. And then like 2 or 3 houses later, it's like these big, elaborate, beautiful homes. And I'm like, wow, this is so weird. I don't know. I just got a weird feeling when I went in there.
On Delmar Street.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell everybody about the guy who called you.
Well, it was 2003, right before Christmas, and he called initially. We did news live, so every half hour was the race to the top and the bottom, so you were busy. And the phone rang, and he asked if by me by name, and I said yes, and he just started talking in riddles and weird. It was very strange, and I was like, I've got to do the news. Call me back in whatever I said. 4-6 minutes, I forget. And like to the second when I was done, he called back, and I was like, wow. That's weird. And so I hit record, and then so that is what you hear in season 1 of the Toll podcast, The Path Back Home. It's in episode 2, and I talk about this and play the tape parts of it, so you can hear his voice. But yeah, he just started talking about how he was the one who killed them and things that happened and why he was calling now. And I didn't know what was happening in the moment. You're just so taken aback and confused. So I just tried to keep him on the phone, and I just tried to keep him talking. And you're scared, and you're trying to think of questions and trying to figure out, why is he calling and why now? So after I hung up, I called Prosecutor Daryl Moore, and I said, hey, this guy just called and confessed, and I don't know what to do with it. And he said, I have had 1,000 people say I know who did it. I've never had one who said it's me. Can I have that tape? And so the race begins, right? I have to call my news director to see if it's okay to release the tape and what that looks like legally on our end. And so we were part of Journal Broadcast Group at the time, which is WTMJ, our mothership. So that's a big deal. So very quickly, the back end starts working. So I did Truly Applegate. His lead detective came over and got the tape, and they went through it. They transcribed it. So that's the transcript you see on TikTok right now that's going around, and Facebook. But yeah, it happened in 2003. So it's right before Christmas. Officers take off. There's CU references and city utilities and houses and areas that he's talking about. And so they're just doing their thing. And I know my news director got in his truck and drove all night, mapping out things and trying to make sense of it. So nothing ever came of it, of course.
Yeah.
The lead detective on the case, the detective who was handling me at the time, a few days in, and it wasn't quick, it was several days in, said, we found him. He lives in Florida. He has ties to the Ozarks, and he was intoxicated or on drugs or whatever. And he's embarrassed about it, and that's it.
Interesting.
Wow, they just
who is he? Why'd he call me? Why'd he ask for me by name? Why is this happening? No, it's an open investigation.
Do you think that it held any truth to it?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. And you have to understand, I know people are asking me now, like, what, did you get the car? Did you go? Did you, I didn't. I had so much going on. I had a 1-year-old. It was Christmas time. I'm trying to get them out of here. I don't know who this guy is or what he's doing or why he's calling. I'm dealing with the station and what they're dealing with the attorneys, trying to figure this out. And I'm being pulled into meetings of, if this is real, if this guy is true. I guess our station did break the 3 missing women story back when it happened in the 90s. And so this was going to be a really big deal if we could solve it. It was going to be the whole circle. And so these are the talks I'm in these meetings. And, if this guy is real, we can bring in attorneys to help you, but we can only do so much. Like, you're going to be on your own, kid, and what's happening?
My God.
So I have a lot going on back at the station, and I'm trying to stay safe because my family is away for Christmas. I'm staying elsewhere because I don't want to be at my house. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he's at. So yeah, no, it was quite the ordeal that I was dealing with that on that side of it. So I knew the officers were on it. I knew they were pulling CU records. I knew they were doing what they could to try and figure this out. I was reading in my journal because there's only 2 stories I kept. I thought it was just one, but there was 2 stories that I kept a journal on. And there was some old bones found over in Lawrence County, which ended up being a place for a dig, I think, later on. But I don't think it was associated with this, but it was just weird timing. They had to go and figure out where these bones were and what they, yeah, it was just weird timing. So there's a lot going on in that story.
Yeah, I could tell you a whole lot of things that I've been told. We'll have to have a conversation one day.
Oh boy.
Not about that case or anything, but just a whole bunch of, I can imagine working at a radio station and then just knowing all the people around there that I'm sure people divulge their deepest secrets to you half the time, right?
I am one of those people where I meet them and in 1 minute I know their entire life story.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm one of those, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Me too.
But yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting at a bar in Camdenton, and I just happened to be talking, and this woman said she was from Hannibal, and I was like, "Oh, really? You're from Hannibal?" And she was quite a bit older, and I was like, "Have you heard about the 3 missing kids?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I was there the day that they started searching for them." And I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Yep.
Yeah. So you get to, oh, there's a lot of things that happen in Missouri.
I was just thinking the same thing.
And then being on the radio for 26 years at the #1 station, such a heritage station, you know, people think they know me. We're friends.
Yeah.
You know, we are. I'm in your car. I'm with you when you're baking cookies with your kids at Christmas, you know. So just, yeah, really built that sense of community and relationships here. So
the kid, she doesn't remember this because she's too young, but when I was a kid, the news anchors and the weathermen were our lifeline to everything. So I still remember the news anchor Jan Stratton, and I think Mike McDonald was the weatherman, or he was like the co-anchor or something like that. But I remember sitting under our house waiting for a tornado to come and hearing their voices, and I will still remember their voices for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and if you ask people around here, that's probably what I'm most known for, is chasing the tornadoes through the Ozarks, because we've had so many, and I was always the one, you know, giving direction and trying to help and all this stuff. So I have a lot of stories.
Tell us about something like that, because I heard you in the Toll podcast, maybe it was in there, where you were talking about a horse and after a really bad storm.
Mm-hmm. So this was in 2003. Oh, David Stokely, his arena got hit twice. It got hit in the 2003 system. They rebuilt, and then it got hit again in 2006 in the Clever area here in Missouri. And I remember, I believe it was the 2006, the second round, I went out there and the arena's just trashed. And, you know, no, it was the 2003. And poor Malcolm, he was a prized horse and he had flowers around his head. And I just sat there and cried because the night before, there had been a huge system come through and it had desecrated this whole community in Clever. And I came down the hill and I couldn't go any further because a house had been ripped to shreds and it was in the road. And so I stopped and people were yelling for help. And her name was Isla Ruth Little. She was in the ditch and she was dead. And so all the cell phones are down, everything's down, but I have a 2-way radio, like a CD radio in my car. And we were able to radio for help live on the air. And so I'm stuck in traffic. I can't go anywhere. And these people were running over the hill. And I'm like, hey, where are you going? You know, like, where are you going? And they're like, David Stokely Farms, it's been hit. He needs help. And I was like, okay. So I got on the next report and I was like, if you know David Stokely, his arena's been hit. He needs help. And he called me a couple weeks later and he was like, I have no idea who you are, but thank you. He said, after that, I had more veterinarians and I had hurt horses. I had floodlights and gates and people brought fencing. And, you know, it was just, it was the power of radio and it was the power of immediacy and community. And it was just something I'll never forget. But yeah, Malcolm was one of his prized horses, and he was up there in the driveway, and they had put a cover over his head and flowers around his head. And I just sat there and was just like, oh, just one more time where you're so glad your house didn't get hit too.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, going out into these communities and just talking to people and their worst time, like the worst tragedy happening to them, and happen to be like, hi,
Yeah.
how are you? I'm so sorry, you know, and try and just talk to them. But it, yeah, those are stories I'll never forget. That's a crazy story.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get into storm chasing and then storytelling, like the Toll podcast?
Well, storm chasing came with the job. So it was journalism / chasing tornadoes.
Okay.
I don't know how I got roped into that, honestly. But being young, you know, okay, let's do it. I'm going to stay for decades.
Props to you for taking it on.
Yeah, right.
Right. And the newscast back then, when I started the station in 1998, and the newscasts were long. You know, we could do features and tell stories, and that is just what I loved. And as the years go on, it's just shorter and shorter and shorter, and it's just headlines. You know, it's 2 or 3 sentences, and I'm like, that isn't fun anymore. You know, I want to go tell stories. And I was talking to my friend Jay, who worked for our top 40 station, and we started talking about Serial, the podcast. You know, we're like, oh, we love it. How cool is that? And we're like, I could do this part. And he was like, well, I'm the sound guy. Like, let's do this. So we put together the Toll podcast, and it's hard. It's really hard. You do it right. The first one took me 3 years. Poison Control season 2 took me 5 years. And it's a long, long time, because with journalistic integrity, it takes time, and you want to get it right.
Yeah.
And there are aspects of season 2 where I would love for FBI agents and investigators to re-engage in this case, because she was investigated by the FBI for 4 years. Wow. So I would love for them to re-engage, and you can only do that if you tell a story that's true to the best of your ability. You know?
Yeah, so let's tell everybody about that. There was a woman named Jeannie, Jeannie, who is suspected of being a serial killer through poison, and also Munchausen by proxy. Yeah, so she was a woman who actually lived in Holt Summit at one point.
Yeah, it really starts in Kirksville, Missouri. They traveled. I don't know if you saw that series I did on it, but they traveled.
I'm on number 7.
10 or 12 times in 10 years, like all the cities up in northern Missouri. And it was, you know, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year, sometimes, and it was so much. But they said that they were traveling for his job, and her daughter, who wanted this case to be brought to light, and that's who I work with. Her name's Jeanette. She said also it's because they were part of the Mormon church, and they could get a lot of help if they kept moving. And it's just a lot of factors. But it starts in Kirksville, and then it starts moving to Ottumwa, Iowa, and then off west as she moves and collects husbands. So yeah, she's on her 4th marriage, and she lives in California.
Oh, right now?
Ooh.
Okay, so this.
I know some people in California.
So this woman, she married 3 men who have passed away from what looks to be poison. And from what I understand, because like I said, I'm on the 7th episode right now, it seems like there's evidence that Jeanette's children were poisoned with cyanide or arsenic or something like that. Arsenic. And
Candy that lab tested positive for arsenic. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So why is this woman not in prison? And I encourage everybody to go listen to the Toll podcast so you understand what we're talking about. Don't want to give everything away, because I want you to go listen to it.
Yeah, that's why I'm being a little cryptic. Yeah. I will say, here's two things that I'll say to hook you. She was investigated by the FBI for 4 years. Poison is very tricky. You have to test for the things she's using. She was a huge student of Agatha Christie. So once you start diving into that and knowing that she used that as her guide, then you understand very quickly that it's hard to pinpoint what she was using at what times. Allegedly.
Did she even fake her death like Agatha Christie at one point?
No.
Oh, okay. Not yet.
And also another thing to hook you is that Dateline, 48 Hours, Good Morning America, and crime reporter Michelle McNamara all went after this story at one point.
Oh, wow.
But she was never charged, right? Because poison is tricky. But that doesn't mean that things don't need another look. That there is evidence there, and there's plenty of circumstantial evidence to say this needs to be reopened. This investigation is not done yet. And it has, it took me 5 years to complete. We released it March 7th. So to the world, it's a baby. To me, it's been forever. And with each passing birthday, her birthday is July 4th. Her and her first husband, Dennis, both of their birthdays were on July 4th. Oh, wow. So with every birthday, I just have this pit in the stomach feeling of, we got to get this. We got to go. It's got to be done. You can't listen to this story and not think, how does it not get another look?
Yeah. I mean, you started out and I was like, okay, this has got an ending. And then I'm like, oh, I don't think it does have an ending yet. And I'm like, dang, what's going to happen next? Because there's so many twists and turns. And not only does it involve poisoning, but it involves a girl in the basement that nobody knows if it's real or what. So Jeanette, Jeannie's daughter, remembers or had a dream or something about a girl in her basement when she lived in Holt Summit.
It's flashbacks.
Yeah, flashbacks.
And so when you said she started in Holt Summit, that's why you said that, because we took a road trip to Holt Summit and we go back in that house and we go back in that basement. And that's a big part of the story. Is what happened in that basement. So if you go listen to the Toll podcast, season 2, Poison Control, you can get hooked too. I really want this to get new life. And, I keep tagging Dateline and the FBI. I'm like, hello. So, here's a good story. I was outside doing some chores and I get a message from Jeanette and she was like, hey, oh my gosh, I just saw Agent Steve Cadiz, and he's the FBI agent who took over. The first agent was on the case from the beginning. He retired after 24 years. Wow. And this poor guy, Agent Steve Cadiz, takes over. This behemoth story, right? This case that just, there's so many people and husbands and tests being done, and it wasn't fair. But he is on a show on Netflix called My Worst Roommate. And he is the first one. And she was like, you got to go see. And he's on there. He's like over weapons of mass destruction in Biohazard or something in Utah now. So he's still in that realm. And it was about a roommate who bought bacteria off the internet and was trying to kill her other roommate. And he is the agent on the case. And I'm like, he's still with the FBI. He's still in the, realm of poison. Like, we gotta get him. So, I've been tagging the FBI like crazy. I'm like, hey, Agent Steve Cadiz, we're right here. Let's do this.
I hope you get it. Now, can you tell us a little bit about Shirley Jane Rose?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yes. Season 1, The Path Back Home of the Toll podcast, is about a little girl who was abducted and murdered here in Springfield, Missouri in 1975. Her cousin who was playing with her that day that she was taken is a dear friend of mine. We have been friends for decades. And we were taking a trip to St. Louis to a ball game to see the St. Louis Cardinals.
Mhm.
And she was telling me the story about her cousin being abducted and murdered, and nobody had ever been found for the case. And then I tucked that away and totally forgot about it. So as we were developing this podcast, there were a couple of stories that made the list that I had looked into and that kind of didn't go anywhere. And then I remembered Shirley Jane Rose, and I was like, well, let's do this. So it turns out she was abducted on my son's birthday, October 17th.
Mm.
And I thought, and it was just weird, the whole synchronicities thing. I truly believe in that. And it was a sign that this is the one I should go after. And also for season 2, it's Jeanette's birthday.
Oh.
So when we talk about season 1 and season 2 integrating, it's because the question is raised, did Jeanette's dad kill Shirley Jane Rose? There's another hook for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Season 1, I didn't have a lot to go on with Shirley Jane because it was so old. It was 4 decades old, and it was so cold. So I started integrating some of my own stories from the Ozarks into that season, out of necessity and out of just, trying to keep the story going, tie-ins that happened here. And then I heard of a ghost story coming out of this. And I was like, okay, this was not the path that I saw going. This was not the path back home that I saw going. But I couldn't ignore it. And so the place that Shirley Jane Rose lived was said to be haunted by her ghost. And when you come from journalism like I do, to go down that road feels bad.
Yeah.
It feels it feels weird.
Disrespectful.
There's nothing concrete there.
And yes. And you feel like you're doing a disservice to the family, and you're just like, ooh, but it was undeniable. And and then, I have this video when the Ghostbusters came, I just couldn't ignore it. And I felt that, as weird as it is now to say, I felt that Shirley Jane said it was okay, to do this. And I was like, okay. And I had lots of audio, and I had a video of a ghost, which you can find at thetollpodcast.com, that the people who live there now gave me. It's actually an office. It's called DeLong Plumbing. It's on Scenic, and it's actually a plumbing office that they use. And I called them up and I was like, hey, I heard you have a ghost video. They're like, come on over. Oh, yeah, we do. And their enthusiasm for it, and their stories that they had, and other people that I was able to get stories from who'd worked in the building. And it just ended up being very interesting, a very interesting element to it. But yeah, I didn't have a lot to go on with Shirley Jane Rose, but there was a man who was under suspicion for years, who was said to be the one who did it. And so I go down that road of, could he have taken Shirley Jane, and the reasons why. So.
Yeah, after I listened to it all, I wasn't sure, especially considering the fact that he had a lot of mobility issues. And I'll let everybody listen to that because it's very interesting. But yeah, I have a childhood thing that I've been trying to figure out forever. And so one day, hopefully, I'll get the answers to that. So I know how once you get a story that it's like you really want to know the answers, you want to know what really happened. Like, it's never going away. And this is
Athena has kind of been someone you've been passionate about trying to figure out what happened to her, and it's very similar in the fact that it's gone completely cold. It's been what, 30, I can't do math, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And it's been out of the public eye. There's so little information about it, no matter what you do or where you go. I mean, like we said, she literally had to go and scroll through all these different pictures and stuff on a screen to try and even find this picture of her. And it's the only picture that's available. And it's just so sad to see that, especially a child's case going cold like that.
And I would have thought that the fascinating fact that she was out selling candy bars for a school fundraiser would have really latched or hooked some people to really want to look into this, but maybe because there's not enough information out there. But even me as a novice, you know, I've only been in children's and youth ministry and in the Army. So I don't know how to, you know, do all of this, but I've even found some stuff that I'm just like, oh, I forwarded it to the detective because I was like, do you know about this? So, you know, one day, hopefully we find the answers to it, but
hoping so.
Yeah. But I admire you for sticking to a story that long, you know, that you actually want to put out stuff that matters.
It's fully researched, a whole timeline put together.
And I have such trust in the community, and that makes it so much easier. You know, when I ask for an interview, they trust that I'm going to do the right thing with it. You know, I'm not trying to bait you. I'm not trying to trick you. I just want to see if we can find the truth. Tomorrow, I'll be releasing a video about Gloria Barnes. That's a spotlight story that we do in the Toll podcast. She will be found tomorrow. Tomorrow is the anniversary date of her being found here in Springfield on a truck stop lot. And I'll be sharing some stuff about her. But when you go and listen to that one too, her sister, it was weird how I found an email and I reached out to Gloria's brother and contacted him. And then I met with his sister first. And she said, I've been praying for 4 weeks, telling God that I can't do it anymore on my own. I can't. I've gone as far as I can go, and to please send me somebody. Here you are. I'll tell you everything you want to know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no pressure.
Came at the right time.
Wow. So she brought everything, and they both opened up and told me things they had never told anybody. And so I had to go down that road. And I actually they hired a cold case detective here in Springfield. And he started with Gloria's case. He said he listened to my podcast. He called me. He had some questions. And he was looking for her Mickey Mouse watch, which she always had. And he was questioning about that. And they're trying. They're just so old. I don't know. And you're pile on the murders every day here. You know, there's homicides that they have to work right now. And it's hard. I understand it, and it's hard.
Yeah, my hometown of Lawton, Oklahoma is known to be a place where you can commit a murder and get away with it because there's so many people in and out from the military and then from truck drivers and all kinds of different things. So it's there's a lot of them. There's actually a serial killer that they've never been able to figure out who it is. So yeah. There's a lot of stories out there, and I'm just thankful that you have picked a few, you know, to highlight that no one has heard of, because unfortunately there's so many of them that aren't told or even thought about again. Like Tina's murder. I remember the detective emailing me, and he's like, because I asked for a FOIA on her before I even knew what I was doing or anything, and this was quite a few years ago, and he's like, hey, he called me and he's like, why are you looking into this case? No one has looked into this case in over 30 years. Wow. And I'm like, you know, and I told him why, and then he's like, that's really odd because I just got assigned the case. And I'm like, oh, wow.
The timing of that.
There we are.
Yep.
Well, hopefully it's incentive for him to really take it seriously, because there are still people that are thinking about her.
Yeah, and I did find her best friend, and I found a couple of people that lived in the neighborhood, and unfortunately they haven't been prepared to talk yet, but at least I'm keeping in touch with them.
Yeah,
so
that's all that matters.
Well, as I said with season 1 of The Toll, I didn't have a lot to go on, so I had to tell a lot of my own stories to pad it. But what that did for season 2 is it allowed Jeanette an opportunity to learn more about me. You know, so I feel like it was meant to be that way, to get her story. So I just was able to be a person who she trusted immediately, and we had a similar background, and she liked my storytelling, and she's like, okay, you're the one. Like, after all these people tried to get this story, she's like, you're the one to do it. And I think that's why it weighs so heavy too, trying to get this resolved and trying to get the case reopened, is just really want something to happen with this.
Now, do you have anything that you're thinking about working on next after these 2 stories?
Take your pick, right?
Right. There's a big world of stuff to be investigated.
Yeah.
People reach out all the time, and it's heartbreaking because you can't do it all. And people ask me all the time if I'm going to do 3 missing women, and I'm not. There's a few reasons, but a big one is it bless Janice McCall's heart. I love her. She's so sweet, but this story's been done to death. You know, I mean, there's no resolution, and me doing another version of it isn't going to help push it. So I put my energy into cases that don't get any love.
Need it.
But yeah, I have one that I started, as I said, before Shirley Jane came along. I had one that had a Tommy Lynn Sells. He was a serial killer known here in the region too, in Texas. He was connected, and in this case ended up falling through at the end. So I have a little bit of that I could work on. And I also have a case that I started on 3 little kids who died in a house fire and the circumstance surrounding them. And I have 2 or 3 interviews. I have 3 interviews, I think, that I've done. And I don't feel I have maybe enough for a podcast, but TikTok series.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's something there. I think I could work with that, and maybe do a version on that. Okay. There's so much that I could work on. It's so sad.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's so many cases out there that I've never even heard of. I'm learning of new ones every day, and it's like, dang.
Which is why we try to always present some of the cases that aren't in the public eye. We try not to, I mean, I know the Gypsy Rose thing has been done to death, but we try to not cover something unless there's something we can add to it.
Every day there's something weird you can add to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a spiraling pole of weirdness. Every day it's so wild.
Yeah, I was shocked when we got those emails, because I had actually put in a request and I had never gotten anywhere with it. And so I just kind of let it die. And then this woman, Mandy, told me about it, that she was getting them. And I was like, okay, you know, just like with my FOIAs, they're very slow to come in. So I was like, okay, I may never even hear about this again. And, so we kept up a little running dialogue about what I was doing and what she was doing. And then finally one day she was just like, hey, I have it. And I don't want to present it. Here you go. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. And normally when I get a FOIA or anything like that on her, I normally just drop it in the Google Drive and maybe do an introduction video to it or whatever. And this one, it wasn't mine, so I didn't feel comfortable doing that yet. And yeah. And so, yeah, that was a heavy burden to have that for about a week.
Yeah, I would think so. And I'm actually very interested to see what everybody else uncovers, because we only scratched the surface there. So
yeah, we did.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of news coming out within the next couple of weeks. So I bet the Blanchard household is really interesting to be a fly on the wall in right now.
or not,
or not. Yeah.
You know, I mean, do they really care?
Maybe.
I don't even know. I just don't even. There's no way she was ever going to keep up with the lies, and I don't think she even cared about that. That's how I feel now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. After her getting off of parole and acting the way that she's acted, I don't have any hope for any growth or anything like that for a long while, if any.
Just thoughts and prayers with Aurora, with baby Aurora.
Yeah.
That's the sad part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Involved now.
Yeah.
And everything's so public and so gross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that if she had just come out and lived her life quietly, I would have never looked into her. I would have never gotten those emails. You know,
I agree. You just had to get out of jail and go do something quiet.
Yeah. And in some of the emails, people even offer her like, hey, you could move to this state and we could get you a job and we could do this, that, and the other and just kind of stay behind the scenes. But also it really seems like she was kind of forced into some of it. It seems like she liked a lot of the media attention. Sure. But it seems like even if she would have stuck with wanting to stay away from the spotlight, I don't think her family would have let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. But I do think she likes the attention too. But if she would have decided, I feel like her family kind of would have just kind of pushed her in that direction anyway. So,
yeah, but she was an adult and is an adult and she can make her own choices. And unfortunately, she hasn't made the wise choice. So, as I tell my kids, stay on the straight path, Hermie.
Well, I'm never going to do what Gypsy did. So.
Life is about choices.
You're safe, Mom. Don't worry. You're safe.
Thank you. Well, Nancy, is there anything that you want to promote? I know you're going to CrimeCon. Is your podcast up for an award this year?
We have entered season 2, Poison Control. Can I tell you about last year at CrimeCon in Nashville?
Yeah.
Did you go?
No, this is going to be our first year.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to meet you.
It'll be really nice to meet you too.
I can't wait to meet you in person. So we had just gotten there at the Grand Opry Hotel or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was with my sister. Jeanette actually went with us to CrimeCon.
That's awesome.
It was very interesting. And we weren't there 3 minutes in the lobby, the main lobby. And here comes Carrie Rawson, BTK's daughter.
Oh.
She's got a film crew behind her. She's a very tall woman. And she's walking. And as it always happens, she walks right up to me. Always. I don't know what it is. And she asked me a question. And I'm just like, bah. And my sister's like, I think it starts at noon. And I was like, that's Carrie Rawson. And she's like, no. And that's how it all kicked off within 3 minutes of being there. Wow. But Carrie ended up telling her story. She did a victim witness statement reading, which I did not go to. So there's different classes and courses you can go to throughout the days there at CrimeCon. And I did not go to that one, but she had revealed the flashbacks, like you were talking about, Amber, that something in her mind was flashing back, but she couldn't pertain it to herself. Mm-hmm. And then when officers found his diary in Oklahoma, Dennis Rader's diary, it solidified what she thought, that she had been a victim of his also as a toddler. And then he had pictures of stuff dressed up like her, and it was terrible. But we went to the next class with her. And the next class, I was sitting by Jeanette. Please go listen to Poison Control, season 2 of the Toll podcast. This will make more sense to you. But Carrie was talking about how after she read that statement and after she revealed that to the world, because she always felt like she was a victim, but never treated like a victim. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because her family was scrutinized and villainized, it was just all of it. But she said once she revealed that to the world just an hour before or whatever, the weight of the world came off her shoulders. She felt free. Yeah. And when you listen to the Toll Poison Control, this will make more sense. But I felt Jeanette trying to take that in, like once I give this over and release it, I'll feel better. But you can't feel that in the moment.
Mhm.
You know, you can't know that that's a feeling you're going to get. And I don't know. It's just so hard. But sitting right next to her and having all this revealed, it was just very crazy.
Well, even listening to season 2, it got my mind thinking more than season 1 for sure about the things that I've experienced and the toll on my life and my children's lives and what could come one day if we ever, find out anything else. And so I've been through a lot, and it's like I was having flashbacks when I was listening to it, and I was like, oh dang, I remember this and I remember that, and oh, that was weird. Maybe I should reevaluate that.
You're not the only one. I've had several people reach out to me, and one we've really dove into to see if there's any substance there, and it is all that. It's something happened to me. I can't put all the pieces together, but I have these fragments, and these people might talk, but maybe not. My heart breaks because there's something there. I don't know if it's something I can work with or I can help with, but I just know that people have a lot of things they've had to go through and they don't remember everything.
Yeah.
Crazy how the mind works.
Yeah.
To protect you. Yeah. It protects you.
Yeah. I've had quite a few instances where I'll be talking to somebody even on here and they'll spark a memory and I'll just be like, oh, dang, I completely forgot about that. But yours, this second season has definitely sparked way more. And I was just counting up all the things I could tell you about. And I was like, oh, dang, we need to have a conversation.
Yes.
So it's wild how the mind works, definitely. And since I've moved here to Missouri, I've even experienced even weirder things. So
I want to say too that Jeanette has gone on to get her master's. She is a trauma counselor now. During this 5 years of investigating, she said that she was able to give me all the bad stuff. Right. She was able to put it somewhere, and she's just been so thankful to be able to do that, for it to live somewhere outside of her mind. But what that's let her do is have some space for something else. So she went back, she got her master's during this. She's a trauma counselor, and her people love her because she gets it. She doesn't just listen and evaluate. She feels for them. And she really cares about her patients. She says she's tried to take off vacation and she's like, oh, somebody else can see you. Nope, you're my person, And I just so admire her because I had to put her through the trying to get information and timelines and all this stuff. But I'm just so happy for her to feel like she's giving back and helping and making something out of all this bad stuff. I can say that for season 2 Poison Control, I have put together a timeline that I believe the FBI absolutely needed the first time. They didn't have all of the different husbands and families and cities and states. They didn't have all of that. I've done it all. It's 250 pages. It has embedded documents like police records, medical records, photographs. It has anything you need. I have it all embedded. It's ready to go. It's 250 pages long. And it's as good as I could do with the timeline of this woman's life and where she's been and who got sick when that was around her, who died, how they died. It is ready. FBI, it's ready.
FBI, if you're watching this, say hint.
Yeah.
She's already done all your work for you. All you have to do is just kind of take your power.
You would think you having journalistic experience and having already dealt with a few interesting things in your career that they would at least want to talk to you.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, I hope they do.
I do too. I keep tagging. I keep pushing. I think there's a sense too that I wanted to get the word out first about it and get listens and get people under it and behind it and, build this up. But I think TikTok is able to show also just my sincerity of it, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, how much I care and I want this to happen. And how many, I couldn't even scratch the surface. You've probably
Mhm.
seen those stories on there. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't even scratch the surface of everything I've learned or
Mhm.
heard or found out or uncovered in emails and documents. And so, yeah, that's a fun
Mhm.
place to put it.
Yeah, and then trying to figure out what's true and what's not.
Yes. Yes. And I don't have to there. I
Uh-huh.
just tell the story. And, you know, and a lot of times I don't even give my opinion. I just tell the story
Mhm.
and then I thank you for listening to the toll.
Mm-hmm.
The story tells itself.
That's all I got, man.
What your opinion is, yeah.
Oh, and I like the fact that you call it the toll, because until my father took his own life, I did not realize the ripple effect that it had on people. And now, even to this day, because he did that and we experienced that, we are not now able to speak to people who are going through those things and give them a perspective that they may not have ever thought about before. And yeah,
The toll
so
of one person doing something and
mhm,
how many people are affected and forever.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's like generational sin and all that stuff. I mean, it's like it's all tied in there. It's scary how one choice can affect somebody's life forever.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Nancy, for coming on here and talking about that. And I really want people to go and watch your stuff. And you can find her on Spotify, YouTube, and where else?
Yeah, iTunes.
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 Okay.
We'll make sure
Yeah,
to link what we can in the bio
Mhm.
of this video.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And go check her out on TikTok, please. She's
Yes,
got some
absolutely.
really good short form videos.
Yeah. And we can tell that you genuinely care and that these aren't just stories to you, you know, that you're regurgitating for profit or for, you know, fame or anything like that. I can
Haven't
tell
made time.
a
Haven't made time.
genuine interest in passion project and just a care for the people that you've met and wanting to bring justice to their loved ones. So we do thank you for that, because it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. And people who actually want to know the truth is
Mhm.
sometimes rare
Yeah.
nowadays.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't have to sensationalize season 2 by any stretch of the imagination.
No, you don't at all.
No, I started watching season 1, but I'll have to get into season 2 because that's a little closer to home. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people that live out there too. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me on. I truly appreciate it. I've had a wonderful time, and
Yeah,
thank you
thank you
for
so
letting
much.
me get the word out about season 2, Poison Control 2, and Shirley Jane Rose, and the rest of them, because they all deserve attention. They deserve some closure,
Yes.
whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Thank you, Nancy. And I look forward to meeting you at CrimeCon.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Have a
great
blessed
night.
evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for sticking with us and hanging out with us and, learning about the toll, because I think it's really important for everybody to really evaluate some of the situations that you've been in your life and look at the toll it's had on you, the choices you've made, and the toll it has on other people. And maybe you won't make as many bad choices, I mean, honestly, if you're really going to try and evaluate it, from a good standpoint of wanting to do better, and to make people's lives better, please just evaluate some things in your life and see what you can do. And so anyways, we thank you very much for everything, and we thank you for all of the new subscribers, because wow, we
welcome.
have
You quadrupled your
Yeah.
subscribers within 3 or 4 days. So
Yeah, I totally did not expect that to happen. Honestly, I kind of felt like it was just going to be like any other time that we had dropped a video about a
you
FOIA.
released quite a few things that no one's really paid much attention to, but I guess people wanted that juicy gossip.
Right.
Which we're normally not getting into that aspect of it, but we're glad that we were able to share some of that, because
Oh, Joy, that's just a little booklet that Alora put up there that says Kawana Parker.
I found it in the garage, and I just kind of added to it without asking, but I figured you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's one of the books that I use to teach the kids. So I've got tons and tons of curriculum and school books and stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
So anyways, well, we thank you guys so much, and we just hope that you have a really great week and that you do something good to, go out there and change the world and do something better for somebody, to, just, I don't know, just change the world, please. We've got too much bad stuff happening right now. Just tell somebody that they're loved, that they're appreciated, that they're respected. Just do something good.
Our voices matter right now more than they have in a very long time.
Yeah.
So don't stand down. Stand up for what you believe in.
Have a blessed evening, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.